All right. Good morning out there. I know it's Friday, but I got stuff to talk about. Let's make sure we're 5 by 5, as some of them say. Doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Doo. Okay, we're good. We are rolling. Well, anyway, good morning. It's a Friday, and I'm broadcasting for once on a Friday with my hat I got from John over at Small Town Booksellers. So and I do this on Fridays on days that not are not Mondays sometimes because I have some really good finds. So when I have something important or significant, or I'm really bored or not. Anyway, good morning. Welcome to Coffee and Resales. My name's Ryan. I get stuff from yard sales, garage sales, thrift stores, estate sales, and other similar places. Try and make a few extra bucks online. This morning, had some really good finds at an estate sale yesterday. There's a local group that starts theirs on Thursdays, which is really nice because I'm actually a little busy Friday mornings, and it's a good alternative. And I can get there, and because they're local, they do a lot of stuff really close to the house, and so it's really nice to have them do stuff. Yeah, I like coffee. Anyway, so starting out, I'm going to go for sort of the not so fantastic. A couple say, well, I'll do one sale and then I got to talk about something else because it's already sold and that sort of thing. Anyway, first sale up, scored these at Goodwill the other day. This week, they're not starting like these are Todd McFarlane, Aaron Rodgers, Ben Roethlisberger, figures, no stands. Ben's even missing his face mask, part of it. Anyway, sold these two for 15 bucks. I think I picked them up for like $2 a piece. So those were good finds. Going into some 1980s stuff is you can't see it down there. Now, I found Transformer. This is a Transformer called Outback from this is original G1. If you know anything, this is actually a recolor of like one of the original ones, and called Brawn, and they just recolored it and made it into a new one and started and sold it. So this is probably about 10, 15, probably like a $10 uh, Transformer. I'm actually going to kind of get some of these, see if I can get them to add up over time. I think I got two sort of lower end Transformers. I'm kind of waiting on getting a few more so I can do them kind of all at once to resell. And then next up is this guy. And you're saying, that's G.I. Joe. No, it's not. This is what's called Core by name from Leonard, who is sort of the big knockoff G.I. Joe maker, sold a lot out of Walmart. And so this is one of those figures. And you can look these guys up. They got names. There's actually no story with them, but they were a really good supplement to G.I. Joes. They were about half the price. But these guys, particularly the ones done like the original G.I. Joes with the O-rings and the big posability, these guys tend to sell. This may be a $10 figure. So I think I've got them up between 10 and 12 bucks, and I'll take like 8 to 10 or something. So this and that other Transformer were in a bag at a local Goodwill. No, it wasn't Goodwill. It was America's Thrift Store. It's another local thrift store here that does the little bags of like 4 to 5 figures or whatever, and for a few bucks. And it's usually a pretty good deal if you find something. Sometimes it's really irritating when there's one thing and the rest are garbage for like 3 or 4 bucks. And it's like, I'm not going to make any money off of that. But sometimes you just want to rescue a figure. So anyway, that's what that is. All right. So that was those sales. So we're on to the reason you're here, which is probably that big picture I picked, which was a big stack of books right here. And we'll go through them. Uh, Went to a local estate sale, and this lady had a big bundle of religious books of very different types, but it was this stack that was the most intriguing. And we'll go from sort of the more okay that's more mundane to okay that's really interesting stuff. Anyway, first off is this. This is a uh, King James. This is King James. Yeah, I think this is a King James Bible. But what makes it kind of, and what I talk about sometimes, is when you look for Bibles to resell, they need to have something nothing special or unique about them, but they need to have some sort of feature that makes them more usable, I guess is one of the things. And so this one is a giant print King James Bible. And giant print stuff does pretty good. I think I've never failed to sell a giant print Bible, even if it's got a little bit of markings in it. I think there's like one page in here that has some writing in it. There's no highlighting or anything like that. So, but this is a giant print Bible, red letter edition. It doesn't have any tabs or anything on the side, but that's okay. So this is probably about a $20 or so Bible, give or take. That does have a little use to it, but it's clean and I think and the binding's really good, so it'll probably go pretty well. Next up is this companion Bible, King James version. This has what looks like some sort of study notes and sort of a really interesting structure to it, where uh, instead of like the concordance material at the back, it's in line with like here's the scripture and here's the concordance material that gives information about the verses and references and that sort of thing. So just a really interesting way to structure a Bible. This is King James. This is a King James Bible. Don't be scared of King James Bibles to resell them. They are probably some of the more common ones, particularly and when you it's just a like your Gideon Bibles, where there's not much to them. It's just the Bible without a whole lot of notes or references or anything like that. Those that may not necessarily sell, but when you have specific reference Bibles, that's what you're looking for, and even in a King James. So now I'm not knocking King James. I don't use it, but it's still a good Bible. It's still a good Bible to use. Just got the more we've moved past using King James in our everyday language, which you do, you're going to say something that's in the King James today, and probably within the next 2 to 3 hours, you're going to say something that was invented, that was come up with, that was in the King James Bible. But we're moving past a certain amount of biblical literacy as a society. So the King James, it's hard, a little harder to understand the King James because of you get confused of what specific words mean. There's a good YouTube channel, forgot the guy's name, who actually goes through a lot of the problem words in the King James, simply because languages evolve and we don't necessarily understand it. But anyway, you can still sell them. All right, now to the fun ones. First one is, we'll go with this one. Oh, on the bottom is this. This is an interlinear Bible, Hebrew, Greek, and English, by Sovereign Grace Publishers. Now, you're going to find a handful of interlinear Bibles that don't sell. They're the paperbacks or some specific versions or something. But the big, nice ones, that's where you get, because interlinear Bible, English text, Hebrew text, and in the back part of it, New Testament, will be the English text and the Greek text. So these are neat to find, but you gotta look if you find them, look them up to make sure. Unless you get them like stupid cheap, like under $1, then it may be worth grabbing. But look them up to make sure you're getting one that'll resell, because there's a handful of them a handful that do, a handful that don't. This is probably a $20 to $30 book actually, which is a little surprising, big and nice as it is. It's actually only going to sell probably for around that much. So anyway, all right. Next up is this is a Strong's exhaustive concordance. I typically don't pick these up because unless you've got like the absolute current Strong's concordance, those don't sell all that well. This one seemed to have some hardcover versions, maybe even a little older. Did seem to have certain. Uh, it seemed to sell a little bit better, or ones that with this cover or something. I'm not sure why. Strongs are not hard to find. Usually there's one every month or two. I think there's one on my current Goodwill shelf, but they don't resell well. I'm a little surprised at that actually. But Strongs is, if you don't know what Strongs is, this is a guy who went through and he numbered every word in the Bible to help find out how often it was used and help people find it. If I'm looking for a word in the Bible, I can go to Strong's and look up. I say, or I go to my Bible, and you can find what's called a Strong's number. And you look at that word, and you say, "Oh, it's used this number of times, and it's in all these verses." And you can look it up and figure out what verses use what word, and it helps you to figure out context and that sort of stuff. Uh, and how parts of the Bible relate to each other and who uses what word. That's how that works. Okay, these are the two fun ones that I found. First up, and I've actually already sold this one on Facebook Marketplace on one of the niche groups that I do. This is a Septuagint with Apocrypha. Septuagint is the Greek translation of the Old Testament, done first thousand. I don't remember what year, but it's old. But this is the Bible of the early church, basically. And when you see, and now the early church of the New Testament era, this is the Bible of the New Testament era. When you see verses used in the New Testament that quote the Old Testament, they're quoting the Septuagint. So it's a really good, useful study tool. And I sold this for $40 on Facebook Marketplace, which is about $10 less than what it would have gone for on eBay, which means I probably put more money in my pocket than I would if I sold it on eBay. So this is a fun find. And this is going to go out today. Next up, this is sort of a history buff one. This is a really neat find. This is called the Geneva Bible. The Geneva Bible is the Bible that came before the King James Version of the Bible. This was the one used by the Scottish Presbyterians. I believe it came over with the Pilgrims to America. King James didn't like the Geneva Bible. It didn't put the monarchy in as good a light as he would have wanted to. So that's one of the reasons. As good as the King James is, it does favor. There are certain language choices in it that King James preferred. And influenced the committees that, as good as they were to write to pick certain words in the King James. And so, and he also didn't like study notes in this one. But this was the Bible of the early English-speaking reformers, predating before the King James came along, and they used a lot of material out of it when they're writing. So, Geneva Bible, good find. This is probably $70 to $100. I think I'm gonna want to put it up. It's not as in good. There's some like the writing in the front, so I'm probably gonna start this at probably about $80 on eBay. When I put it up next week, I've got it up on Facebook Marketplace to see if I can get a bite. But if it doesn't come up, if I don't sell it there, I'm gonna put it up on eBay next week and see if I can get a good price on it. So this was the good find. So all in all, that state sale, I spent $50 already made. Sold for 40. That shipping on that's gonna be 10. So I already made $30 of that back. So that was a really good buy. I got some clothing that is uninteresting there as well. That probably won't make me a lot of money. And this weekend, I am me and my eldest are heading over, which reminds me, I need to call them and get my tables reserved out at Smiley's Flea Market in Macon, Georgia. So, like the two of you that may be watching this that are that close, that's where we're going to be. So, selling a bunch of my excess and selling a bunch of the stuff that just won't sell on eBay. And so it's a lot of barn tools, a lot of small toys, a lot of my extra Hot Wheels, that sort of stuff is what we're going to bring out there. My son's got his own bin of his stuff that he wants to sell. So that's going to be that. So that's this. That's today. That's this week. And here's hoping we have all going. So all y'all out there have a good weekend, and I'll be reporting hopefully Monday on how much money we made. I usually shoot for 300, but I don't make that up. I don't usually have. I may actually have the stuff to make it this weekend to do $300. I usually clear close to 200. But I'm really my real goal. I really like to be able to make 300 every time I go out to the flea market to sell. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So y'all have a good day, and I will catch y'all on the flip side. Like, comment, subscribe if you dare. Well.